writer, strategist, mindfulness coach, brand alchemist, aspiring filmmaker, also DJ on weekends, mental health advocate, creative generalist, full-time vibe curator. Did I just mention your bio? Cool. But what do you actually do? That's not shade. That's exhaustion, okay? We're in an era where everyone's a multi-hyphenate. Your identity has to be layered, scalable, story-driven, available in carousel format by Tuesday. And if you can summarize your personality in 4 punching nouns, are you even trying? Welcome to the wonderful world of identity inflation, where most isn't more, and specificity feels like a lost art. Sawadee Krap and welcome to another episode here for the Funky Pod, Mindful Media and Communication, where everybody is everything, every time, everywhere, all at once. Kind of like that. You heard it in the intro. Now I'm wondering, how do we get here? How did we get here? How did the rise of the personal brand industrial complex, how did this happen? How did we let that happen? Why did we let it happen? Yeah, once upon a time, in a galaxy far away, you had a job title. Okay. Maybe you had a hobby. Maybe, crazy thought, you had a personality offline. Then LinkedIn showed up. Twitter gave us bios. Instagram gave us creator identities. And suddenly everyone's building their brand. And here's the thing. At first, it made sense. You're multifaceted. You do wear many hats. But eventually, that hat rack got out of control. While I take off my second hat. Instead of building depth, we started stacking descriptors. Instead of evolving, we started curating personas. And not just for others, but for ourselves too. So by now, we're not sure. Are we growing or just algorithm optimizing? And that leads me to the theory part of the podcast. As you know, there's always one. And Erving Goffman is right now screaming in his grave. Pushing one hand through right now, trying to get out. Goffman created that dramaturgical model. We talked about this before, right? He said it's about performance. And he said we perform identity like actors on a stage. We talked about this in a podcast before. That's why I reference it, because you remember. So he says we manage impressions based on the audience and based on context. And you know what? It was in the 1950s. In the 1950s. Fast forward to now, and the stage just never ends. You're not just performing for one audience, you're performing for all of them. All the time, all at once. Personal, professional, aspirational, algorithmic, you name it. It sounds like a rap lyric. So what happens when there's no backstage anymore? Right? In Goffman, he says we have the front stage facing that one audience that you're entertaining. And then we have backstage, the real you. But right now, there's no backstage. So what's happening when there is no backstage anymore? When that self is always on. Yeah, you start stacking roles instead of inhabiting them. So you're not becoming more complex, you're becoming more marketable. Is that what you want? Now, since we're talking Goffman, let's talk about the next old school theory, social identity theory. We had it on a podcast too, right? But right now I'm on fire in this regard, and I'm all fired up. So social identity tells us we define ourselves through group affiliations, right? Depending on which group we belong to. I'm a founder, I'm a creator, I'm a mindful podcast host. Yeah. So we define ourselves through the group affiliation, through communities that we affiliate ourselves with. Basically through labels. But these aren't just labels, those are our safe zones. And because we're good at that, or we really feel like we belong there. And the more identities we attach ourselves to, the more we can blend and pivot, and community of friends, fans, and repackage. But what happens when identity becomes this fragmented performance? At one point, you're going to stop asking, who actually am I? What do I really want to do? What do I like? And you start asking, which version of me performs best in this space? So let me turn on that version of me. And the result, your sense of self is everywhere. In this space, I'm like that. In this space, I'm like this. With those people, I'm like that. But your sense of self is never with you. And isn't this where your sense of self should be coming from? And just to give you a few examples, right? Like, how does this identity inflation look like in the wild? Then look at different bios, IG, LinkedIn, whatever. They're helping people to do X, Y, Z. And then 7 unrelated hashtags. By the way, head of IG, Adam Mosseri, said hashtags don't even help with the reach, but good on you for still using them. The creator who has pivoted like 6 times in 6 months, each time with a new aesthetic, right? Trying to figure out a real thing. Or that educational post that's really just a few flexes with emojis attached to it. Like, okay. Or the person, my favorite, apologies if I hurt someone, take it on a chin, the person who starts every sentence with, as someone who, and then followed by a rotating identity deck. As someone who takes cold plunges at 4 a.m. in the morning. And this is not to mock. I have such posts too. Everybody has such posts at some point. The thing is, you shouldn't have them all the time. And I do admit it, and I just said it. We're doing it. Everybody's doing it. We're all doing it. And I think I can speak for all of us. I simply do it right now. We're all tired. We're all tired of consuming that all the time and of doing it too. Yeah, we've made identity into a portfolio. Something to pitch, rather than something to protect. That's exhausting. And that leads me to the risk of all of that. It's confusion, because that's what it is. But it's disguised as like multi-potential. You have so much potential. And being multi-passionate is not the issue here. It's good to have many passions. It's great, right? But performing identity without anchoring the identity, that's the issue. You can like many things. You can enjoy many. Of course you should. But it doesn't mean that your identity has to change every single time. Yeah, if your identity should be anchored in something, then you can still enjoy all those things. So when everything is a potential narrative, nothing feels grounded. And you spend more time packaging and repackaging yourself than being yourself. You try to oh God, air quotation marks incoming. You try to tell your story. Oh God, I'm cringing while I'm doing this. Before you even decided what parts matter to you outside the scroll. Because you only think about the story that you want to show in your feed, on your feed. That leads to you losing the ability to sit in non-performance mode. Just chill and be yourself and figure out who you are and what you like. And that's when your identity stops expanding and starts fragmenting just to hit all those algorithm boosts. I'm going to turn down the hate and the emotions and just going to ask you and ask myself, and just let's ask this question together. How do you deflate gracefully? And again, I never tell you to just switch off everything, delete everything. No, we're not Duolingo. So how do we deflate gracefully? Well, start by asking, what parts of my identity feel lived and what feels positioned? Because I want people to think I am like that, but actually, I'm just faking it. Am I describing myself or am I defending myself? Or am I using this label to express something or just to belong somewhere because I think it's going to be good for me and my profile? And maybe try, as I know it's difficult, but try, instead of stacking more identity badges, commit to a contradiction. Be creative and organize. Like, be driven and disillusioned. Be someone who doesn't fit into a single line of text. Why? That's me cringing on the TEDx line that's coming. But you're not a summary. You're a person. And the fun part, to connect it back to the podcast, is to communicate with people. That's what communication is about. So don't just try to communicate via like 1 or 2 lines of your bio. So I'm saying, let's try to move at least a little bit from personal brand to personal bandwidth. Yeah, you don't have to be everything to be enough. You watched the Barbie movie, you know that. Your identity does not have to go viral. Your growth does not need an aesthetic. You do not have to collapse your complexity into a shareable statement. Okay? So, if you're feeling stretched, curated, or a little, I hate it, or a little too on brand. If you feel like you're too on brand, you definitely need to pull the plug for a little bit. And it might not even be a burnout, right? Maybe it's just your selfhood asking to be more than just a pitch deck. And that's okay. Take a day off at the weekend. Don't post. Don't summarize. Don't share your learnings from your latest trip to the matcha latte shop or whatever. Not everything needs to be a branded post, okay? Didn't mean to rant. Did it anyways. Because it's just popping out, like, as soon as you're logging in wherever right now, actually. I'm not saying that all the good old days have been better, but man, I miss MySpace with the background music. If you feel the same, shout out. If you feel differently, shout out. If you're saying, man, you're just an old millennial by now, yelling at the clouds, let me know. I promise next week, next episode, a little less yelling, a little more calmness. But I just had to get it out because it's been on my mind for quite a while. Let me know your thoughts about it. Add FunkedPod on social media. Leave comments on Spotify. Rate this thing, like, share, subscribe. It really helps to reach a wider audience. Very much appreciated. Until then, stay safe, take care, do some self-care, and we talk soon. Sorry, Cap.